Alright, welcome back to the Joy of Gay Sex series, you guys. I'm Charlie, and we just got done talking and reading about gonorrhea, a pretty nasty sounding STD. So now we're going to talk about syphilis. The first recorded outbreak of the disease appeared in 1494 among French soldiers stationed in Naples. At that time, the mortality rate was virtually 100%. Everyone in Europe blamed it on everyone else. The Italians called it the French disease, while the French called it the Neapolitan disease. When it arrived in Turkey, the Turks called it the Christian disease, and the Chinese called it the Portuguese disease. Everyone finally agreed to blame it on Columbus, whose men, it is said, brought it from the New World after being contaminated by the Carib Indians. There's some recent historical evidence that suggests that Columbus and his men got a bad rap. Syphilis may already have been in the Old World. Treponema pallidum is the name of a corkscrew-shaped bacteria called a spirochete that literally burrows through your skin and into the bloodstream. If I say the words wrong, I'm sorry, you guys. It is most usually transmitted through anal sex, although a small or a much smaller percentage has been known to get it through oral sex. The first symptom of syphilis is a red sore called a chancre, about the size of a pea, though the sore does not always appear. The skin breaks open to reveal the chancre, which may soon be covered by a yellow or gray scab. It is painless and does not easily bleed, although it may be painful in the butt. Syphilis is highly contagious at this stage. Left untreated, the chancre heals by itself in a few weeks. Unfortunately, the disease continues to develop. This is the time to get to the doctor because while syphilis is less common than gonorrhea, it's more serious. The sore, if it appears, can show up as early as 10 days after sexual contact, but ordinarily occurs about 3 weeks after infection. Aside from it, there are no symptoms, except the lymph nodes often become tender and inflamed and enlarge the size of grapes. Secondary syphilis starts about 4 to 6 weeks after the initial infection. A rash which does not necessarily itch breaks out, usually all over the body. It can even appear on the palms and the soles of your feet. The patient has a general feeling of ill health, headaches, nausea, loss of appetite, and fever. Hair sometimes falls out. Luckily, it grows back. The person is highly contagious. He can transmit syphilis through all the mucous membranes, including those of the mouth and anus. The second set of symptoms will also disappear within a few weeks, but then the illness enters a third, more dangerous stage. For several years, the untreated disease will be latent in the body. There will probably not be symptoms, though a sore may appear at the site of the original infection after a year or two. Once a year has passed, the patient is no longer infectious. Some advanced cases will move on to territory syphilis. There are 3 kinds. 1, benign, is characterized by the development of large lesions in and on the body. The second, which is cardiovascular syphilis, often ends in death from heart failure. The third kind, general paralysis, leads to the deterioration of the central nervous system and psychosis. This stage is usually reached 10 to 20 years after the initial infection. Fortunately, with the discovery of penicillin in 1943, there are a few cases of tertiary syphilis. Although syphilis can be cured easily if it's caught in its early stages, probably more than 50,000 gay men contract syphilis each year. A blood test for syphilis is usually negative during the first 4 or 5 weeks of the infection, but it then turns positive. Blood tests are not always reliable for early syphilis infections, so if you have disturbing symptoms, have a second test even if the results of the first were negative. The treatment for early syphilis is a large dose of penicillin, though other antibiotics are used for people allergic to this drug. Don't forget follow-up blood tests. The presence of HIV usually complicates the treatment of syphilis. It's pretty scary, you guys. This is prostatitis and urethritis. Prostatitis is a bacterial infection of the prostate gland that may result in its becoming enlarged or inflamed. The prostate is a gland lying next to the urethra. It squirts a fluid into the urethra when you come that mixes with sperm traveling up from your balls. Strictly speaking, prostatitis is not a problem that is sexually transmitted, but sometimes bacteria that enter the urethra canal during anal sex can work their way into the prostate and cause infection. Symptoms of prostatitis are burning in the urethra during urination and more frequent urination than usual. An erection is not painful, but sometimes ejaculation hurts. Pain is occasionally felt in or behind the balls, and once in a while, specks of blood show up in the semen and urine. Inflammation of the prostate gland can also be a side effect of penile gonorrhea. A more frequent case, however, is occasional bursts of sexual activity followed by regular periods of inactivity. Yet another cause is delayed ejaculation, blue balls. If you have an enlarged prostate, your doctor may recommend that you not get fucked until the swelling is reduced. To compensate for avoiding sex, he may suggest that you jerk off frequently, which may help your prostate condition. The major cause of non-gynecological urethritis, an inflammation not caused by gonorrhea of the cells that line the urethra, is Chlamydia. Is it Chlamydia? I think it's Chlamydia. Chlamydia is the #1 STD among heterosexuals, and so it can be spread. Oh yeah, chlamydia is the #1 STD among heterosexuals, and so it can be spread to those gays who have sex with straight men. It's far less common in the gay community. About 60% of all the cases are inflamed urethral canal, or called nonspecific urethritis, which merely means that doctors don't know what the hell is causing it. It may be caused by chlamydia. The incubation period is 1 to 5 weeks. Chlamydia is hard to culture, so most doctors will treat it as they find white blood cells in your discharge. The primary symptoms of this very contagious disease are burning of the urethra during urination and a discharge usually clear. Vigorous sexual activity such as fucking a trick like there's no tomorrow can also cause abrasion of the penis, which may lead to urethritis. Perfumed soaps and bubble baths can also cause urethral irritations. If you have a discharge of any sort, see your doctor and alert your partner. And this is God, they should have like the little symbol that tells you how to say the word. Epididymitis. Yeah, that word is a set of coiled tubes toward the back of and above each of your balls that store sperm. You can feel them easily with your hands. Urethritis, if not treated, may spread down to the epididymites and infect them. They become tender and swollen. If you're still not treated, the infection will redden your scrotum and infect your balls. You will have frequent discharges, painful pissing, and your balls will swell and hurt like hell. Ugh. That is so scary, you guys. Alright, stay tuned, you guys. We're going to talk about viral STDs, so stay tuned for the next video.